Today I have a very special guest. This is Salty Sunshine Book Club edition with Heather Colley. She is a Oxford Review Book Short Fiction Prize winner. She's known for writing short stories, and this is her debut novel, The Gilded Butterfly Effect. Heather's a PhD student in English literature at Oxford University. She holds a master's degree in literature from St. Andrews University and a bachelor's degree in the same subject from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, which is where she attended while she wrote her debut novel, The Gilded Butterfly Effect, the hilarious but unflinching look at today's U.S. college campus experience, from the highs and lows of the nonstop party scene to the absurdities of modern psychiatric care, the implications of prescription drug abuse, and campus sexual assault. The book alternates between chapters narrated by Stella, a sorority girl, and Penny, a loner who travels to Ann Arbor from her small liberal arts college as they experience the start of the academic year. So enjoy the interview, Miss Heather Colley. Hello and welcome to Salty Sunshine. I have a really awesome special guest today, Miss Heather Colley. She is an author and we're going to talk about her debut novel, The Gilded Butterfly Effect. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to chat about my book.
It just came out October 21st.
Yeah, just now that I'm looking about 10 days ago. Yeah.
10 days ago. I'm about halfway through.
Okay.
I feel I'm about halfway through. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I like, this is your first book, but you've written short stories.
Yeah, I really like writing short stories. They're much, much easier to me than like anything full length. So I do quite a few short stories.
How long did it take you to write this?
The first draft, probably a year.
Yeah, and was it harder or easier than you thought?
It was probably easier than I thought. The idea of writing a novel sounds incredibly intimidating before you start, but I think you find once you get into it, once you have your characters, once you have your settings, it does come easier than you think.
Do you kind of map out characters and settings, or you just go with the flow and see where it takes you?
I am not really a plotter. I go with the flow. Once I get a little bit further on into the manuscript, then I start laying out plot points. One thing I usually do is I always have the ending in mind, or I write the ending very early.
Interesting. Yeah. Also, the name of the book, do you come up with that after or ahead of time?
I think for this one, I came up with the name when I had a very, very early draft, which looks nothing like what the book is now. But once I had the ideas and a loose plot and the words down, I think that's when I came up with it.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And I've always liked to read, but I guess, I had my daughter super young.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that much time to do anything. She was in dance, she was in school, all these things. And so once she did start college, I got into it again, and I love reading. And it's interesting because there's always a rhythm when you start a book, and you it either makes it flow easy or it's difficult to pick it back up and start, even though you want to see where it goes and stuff. It's I don't know how to describe it as a reader, but I find I like your style of writing. It's an easy, I don't know. I'm into it and I'm invested, and other books sometimes don't have that flow.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I get that too, and I get what you mean about it's kind of hard to describe. Sometimes you're hooked, and sometimes you're not, even if you are enjoying the book anyway. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure why, but I'm glad to hear that you were hooked.
Yeah. It's just the way you transition or talk about the story. I have another POV because I have a daughter that was in a sorority.
Right.
And so I learned, I have my point of view.
Yeah.
Were you in a sorority?
I was in a sorority, but I will say the same thing that I told my mom when she read this book for the first time. It is very hyperbolic. It's very exaggerated. Like, it's totally fictional. Just as some reassurance for a sorority girl mom.
Like, none of it's based on me, I promise.
Yeah, I had to be like, these girls are crazy and unhinged, and I like them and they're fun, but they are not reflections of myself. And I'm sure your daughter is the same way.
No, I was reading it and I'm like, wait a second. Then I think to myself, you know what? Obviously, I don't know everything she was doing, I feel like I know a lot, and she told me a lot
Mm,
about other people as well, and it's horrifying,
totally.
some of it isn't. But I do think there's another POV, right? This is one POV of like that what can happen on that path, and then there's another POV of the girl that's just like all about academics and fundraisers, and it's
Absolutely.
just
And that's also very prevalent. That was the kind of sorority I was in. Like we were known for having like a high GPA, and we were really studying and working together in academics was really important, and that's a huge element as well of Greek life, and it's one reason why I think sororities can actually be like really positive experiences too.
yeah. Yeah, you never know. Would you ever be interested in writing a book from that other POV for
Yeah.
the sororities?
Yeah, I think the sorority house and the campus is just a really great setting for fiction. And I like the kind of every person narrator, the sort of regular average person that's experiencing normal everyday life. So I would definitely explore someone like that just within the system.
Yeah, my daughter did tell me some
Yeah,
stories, and I always told her, I'm like, if I knew what I know now, I would have been. I was like, oh my gosh, like, also, parenting can go only so far, and obviously you're on top of trying to be safety, but
of course.
it's like another world over there, and it's so overwhelming, and it's so hectic, and making friends. And the good thing about sororities, one of the good things, is you make instant friends, and that I think is important, and why I did want her to be part of a sorority, because a lot of the times it's not that easy to make friends,
Absolutely.
especially as you get older.
Yeah, and that was why I did it too, and I think that's completely valid. I mean, going away to school, I didn't know a single person that had ever gone to where I did my undergrad. And so joining a sorority was the obvious option, and it did help make
Yeah.
friends, and it can be a really useful tool for that.
Yeah, and then the houses have their cooks,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then you have the food and the activities, and it gives you something to do. It could get really lonely because it is a
Exactly.
huge campus, and it's just like you don't just hang out with
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
It's
So
weird.
it's yeah, and one thing I do try to highlight is that the sororities themselves, they can be good. They can be positive. Like I show another sorority at some point that's much less crazy than the central sorority. So I try to show that they're not this is not a universal sorority experience.
No, of course. I did like I said, I'm halfway
Mm.
in. I'm enjoying it, but it does give me anxiety sometimes thinking, "Oh my gosh, like what are you doing?"
Yeah.
But you do kind of mix humor with heavy subjects like body dysmorphia and prescription drugs and assault. And did you ever reel yourself in and say, I don't want to take it this far? Or, I mean, I don't know what's to come because I'm still halfway
Yeah.
in, but
I think I have always appreciated fiction that deals with hard things pretty head on. And I think it can be important, especially for women's issues, to articulate these issues clearly,
Mhm.
because you don't often see them illustrated explicitly, and we don't often talk about them as women. So,
Yeah.
my kind of project in showing these dark things clearly is to present the reality as it is or as it can be, in the hope that people see it and realize that this is something we can talk about.
Yeah. I don't remember my daughter ever telling me that. Is there, sorority houses don't come with counselors, do they?
Um, I can't remember, to be honest. I'm not sure.
They should probably have
Yeah,
one.
yeah, they may well, and the schools
Yeah.
themselves have a lot of counselors and built-in
Yeah.
systems and things like that. I think in general, schools try to do a pretty good job.
The school definitely has one, but I think if the sororities and fraternities had one, it would be better
Yeah,
because you feel like it's part of your group there, and then maybe you could just kind of chime in and see, you know,
definitely.
talk about whatever you think might need talking about. um yeah, there's a huge interest online with sororities and showing the ins and outs. And I do remember when my daughter, she went to FSU, and that's a party school, because it depends on what school, what state, what city, what's the vibe. Some people have sororities, but they're very low key. They don't really do much, and other ones are just crazy. FSU is pretty crazy.
Right.
I think it's very spirited, and I do remember when she was doing the rushing, because the rushing is pretty
Yeah,
intense.
I'm
It's
sure.
like a few days.
Yeah.
You're rushing from sorority house to sorority house. You don't know where you're going. It's a whole thing. And I told her at the beginning, if you do this, I don't want to hear any complaining.
Yeah.
If you don't get what you want, if you don't feel like the ones that you want didn't select you, because you're choosing to do this. So let's not make it a stress.
Yeah.
Like, let it go where it goes.
Yeah.
How did you feel going through that process, or how did you see other people go through that process?
That's a really good approach. I think it's really important to remember this is fully optional and no one has to do it, and you'll be just as happy in your undergraduate experience if you don't do this. But I remember as well, I went to Michigan, which I don't think is quite as big with the Greek life. Greek life is a big part of life there, but not quite as much as the more southern schools. And I remember it also being very intense. It's a multi-day long thing. Um, People get really caught up in the houses and not getting houses, but I do think that perspective is very important. It doesn't have to be your life at university. It can be one aspect, and if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. There's usually about like 80 or 90% of kids that are not involved in Greek life at schools, even if it can feel like it's very central. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
just keeping perspective about the whole undergrad experience.
Yeah, because I was part of a Facebook group with the moms, and let me tell you,
Sure.
it was a scary. I was like, "Are you seriously crying over your daughter's like not?" I'm just like, "This is like, what is happening?"
Yeah.
I was just that's why I told her because of that Facebook, and I saw all the comments and the parents fighting and all this stuff. I'm like, this shouldn't be. I don't know. It shouldn't be so stressful.
No.
It should just be, oh, you go for it and take it or leave it if you want to or not. It shouldn't be something that the parents are not egging on the children to be more upset than they need
Yeah,
to be.
yeah. I think it should be for the student, for your child, if it enhances their life. But yeah, I remember because sororities can be intergenerational, so you can have mothers and daughters going to the same one, and that creates a whole other dynamic, I guess.
Well, speaking of the character in your book, Stella, and her
Yeah.
mom, oh my gosh, I was just like, I'm not there yet where I can put my finger. Is her mom a terrible mom? Is her mom, like, I'm trying to picture her mom and the way she acts and everything.
They I don't know that they're supposed to be terrible. They're supposed to, like their daughters, they're supposed to make questionable choices, all rooted in this sorority life. For the moms, it's the sorority life that they once had and that they miss. But are they terrible? I don't know. I think they probably, like the girls, deal with a lot of issues that women deal with. Not in the best ways, but unfortunately, their daughters do feel the ramifications of that.
Yeah, and I'm like, does she know her daughter looks at her the way she does? Is she aware, that her daughter's mortified, or at times with how she's behaving and stuff like that? It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's two different worlds. Um, so you're in London. What's the biggest difference you see in American culture, college, campus wise, and over there?
Well, in UK schools, there's really no such thing as sports culture. They don't have college football or any college sports, really. Like, nobody follows college sports. It's just not a part of culture here. So,
Isn't there rowing?
there is rowing actually at Oxford and Cambridge. Rowing is the big one, yeah. And I guess that is the big one that people follow, the Oxford Cambridge boat race. That's televised. But there's nothing quite like the college football here, which means that you also don't get that school spirit that comes with it. So you don't get the Michigan Go Blue spirit, and you also don't get the tailgates and that whole university spirited party culture that comes with sports. They're just like at any university. There are societies that are exclusive and that have these issues as well. They're just not called the same things. They're not technically Greek life.
Yeah, so there's no sororities and fraternities,
No.
is there?
No.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
They don't have that over there. So what do people do?
Yeah, it's quite an American thing, I guess. People
Yes.
join clubs and societies very much, but there are groups that I suppose fill that void, that also have a selection process, that are intended to connect you with like-minded people, often very centered around drinking. So they have things that are similar, but not something that's like 30 houses in one contained system in the same way.
Would you say that makes it safer to go to college over there? in general? Like,
It's a good question. I think, yeah, maybe. I think the problem with Greek life is that everything, even the material circumstances, are in the hands of the fraternities. So, for example, you never hear about a sorority party. So anytime the girls go out, they're in the power in some way of the fraternities. They're in the fraternity boys' house. They're drinking their alcohol, and they're invited by the fraternities. So the boys in the system have all the power, and that's unique to Greek life. I think in the UK, quite a few of these societies are they're boys and girls, so you don't have that dynamic quite as much, and you don't really have the physical spaces. Like, it's the houses themselves that I think create these environments. So when you don't have the Greek life house, you don't quite have the same situation.
agreed. Yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't know they didn't have any fraternity
Yeah,
sororities.
yeah.
I do remember even like on a parents' weekend, um, the fraternity homes were something to
I know.
see. I mean, it looked like they hadn't
Oh
cleaned
my
in
god.
4 years.
I know, I remember.
I mean, the germs.
Oh, I know. It's awful. And yeah, but that's just how it is. That's just the way of life, isn't it? It's probably been longer than 4 years since they've cleaned. They're just perpetually disgusting.
I mean, you can't even walk because it's like the stickiness
Yeah,
of the floor, and
yeah,
I'm just like, how do you live like? And it's obviously just the fraternities. The girls' homes are fine,
exactly.
but the boys are just so dirty,
Yeah, yeah. It's gross.
so
Yeah.
dirty. It was fun though when I went for parents' weekend because they had ice sculptures
Yeah.
and you would take shots and it was so great. I think the biggest danger, obviously, prescription drugs and assault, obviously, but I feel like that's a danger that could be a danger throughout your whole life,
Yeah.
not necessarily just in college, but it's the alcohol
Yeah.
consumption and the underestimating how quickly you can overdrink
Absolutely.
and everything turns
Yeah, and
bad.
a lot of these girls make bad decisions because they're on prescription drugs, but also very much because they're just drinking too much. And
Too much.
yeah, and they're just always a bit drunk, or if they're not drunk, they're hungover. So they very rarely
Yeah.
have a kind of clear mindset, which impacts all of the decisions that they make.
Yeah, and you think it can't happen to you, but it's like you're just one drink away. And I tried to bribe my daughter and tell her, listen, just think of the photos you take because you're gonna look so bad. So kind of like don't drink a lot
That's
because of
true.
that.
Yeah.
Let's look at it in a vain sense.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good way to approach it. Whatever works.
Everything's on social media too. You don't want to be caught with something that's going to be out there forever.
Oh
That's
yeah.
like so embarrassing.
No.
What would be like your advice for people that go into college, which is most kids, right? With insecurities or broken homes or not a lot of friends or they feel ugly or whatever.
I think college, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to feel any of those things in college. And even just to be, even if you come from a very, nice standard upbringing, college is hard. It's a huge transition. And I think giving yourself patience can be really useful. It can seem when everyone's joining these fraternities and sororities in the first week that all of a sudden everyone has their friend groups. And that's not really true. It's okay if you find your people in your second year, in your third year, if it takes a couple of tries, if you have to join a couple of different clubs, that's okay. And in a lot of ways, that's very normal. So
Yeah.
just avoiding the kind of comparison, the pressure, everyone is in a group except me, is not true. And there's hundreds of kids that feel the same as you, just looking to make friends as well.
Yeah. I always tell my daughter and her friends, I'm like, I just feel it's such a significant part of your life and you're kind of learning to live as an adult. And if you can survive that, you're good. But it's like you can also make choices that will destroy the rest of your life or change it forever in a negative way. So you really have to be mindful every single day that you think it's just not going to harm you, that it could very well just change everything.
Yeah.
So kind of like think about it that way, that what you do now could change and matter for the rest of your life, and it was unnecessary and avoidable.
Absolutely. And it's, easier said than done, of course, but
Yeah.
it's really good for kids to have that exact perspective. It can be really easy to just get to college, you're free for the first time, and you all of a sudden feel like you could do whatever you want. And it's really easy to just let that slip. Very
Mhm. Yeah, and peer pressure.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
you want them to like you and everything. And it's interesting because I went to a local college and I was already with baby, so I did not have any of that experience. So I saw it all through my daughter, and it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. It was very interesting. And yeah, so are you enjoying promoting your book? What's the feedback? What's next for you? What
Yeah.
are you going to write another one?
Yeah, it's been great promoting the book. One of the things that has been the best part of that is getting messages from people who were early readers or who just finished the book, who said that they saw themselves in one of the characters or both of the characters, Stella and Penny, and who felt that they felt seen by one or both of the girls. And that's just exactly what you want to hear as a writer. That's the best thing you can hear. So that's been an amazing response from people online. Next, I have a short story collection coming out in February 2026. One of the stories is from Stella's perspective, but you don't have to have read the book to understand that story if you haven't read the book. So that's next, and starting on my second novel.
Oh, that's great. Is it going to be a completely different type of genre?
I think I'll probably stay in literary fiction, but I'm going to move away from these characters. I like letting characters go and just letting them sit with their endings, and I'm not like a huge sequel person. I like endings just to be endings. So
Sure.
I'll do literary fiction. I'm really interested in like high schools and secondary schools because I was a teacher for a little bit. So I think that's probably where I'll set my next novel.
What are you, other than you're working on your stuff, what kind of books are you into? What have you read lately that you like?
Yeah, I read a lot of the genre that I write in. So I read a lot of literary fiction that centers women's issues. I just finished Ainsley Hogarth's Mother Thing, which is, I'm a little bit late on that. It was a really big book 2 or 3 years ago, and it's just so good. It's like a literary feminist horror novel about a woman who is struggling with infertility and also may or may not be haunted by her dead mother-in-law.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absurd and it's funny, and it was just very good. I like everything that she's written. So that's sort of where I'm
Yeah.
at. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I love all the chiclets. I mean, I like memoirs and the nonfiction. I tend to read like a nonfiction and a memoir because they're so different that I can kind of do both depending on my mood.
Right.
But I really loved The Wedding People recently that I read.
I just read The Wedding People. I read it maybe in the summer. I also loved it.
I loved it
Yeah.
because I felt it was so relatable,
Yeah.
and it was just so, you felt it could really happen.
Mhm.
That could happen to you, and I loved it.
I
It was great.
loved the narrator, Phoebe, I think she was called. And I loved just
Mhm.
like the setting, the seaside setting. I
And it wasn't so obvious.
Yeah, and also I liked how they didn't insist on a happy ending. They just kind of laid the groundwork and let it go. Yeah.
Yes, she didn't just like do what you thought she would do, and it was just kind of open ended, and
Yeah.
it even gave her a second book if they wanted to.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
you just
think I read that it's going to become a movie, I think.
would you like your book to become a movie?
Of course. Yeah, I mean
who
that would be amazing.
who would play Stella and Penny?
I think oh, that's tough. I think maybe like someone like Daisy Edgar Jones for Stella. She's straight from Normal People. She struck me as like this beautiful campus queen.
Yeah.
So I see that for Stella. For Penny, it would have to be someone quite the opposite who can get at her kind of awkwardness, her self-consciousness, and the turmoil that she feels inside. That's hard because a lot of celebrities and actresses are not awkward or like, uncomfortable in themselves. So I'd have to think.
Yeah, yeah. Do you watch the adaptations when the books become movies?
I do occasionally watch adaptations. I'm not huge on them because I almost always prefer the book. But
Yeah.
I have been meaning to watch Night Bitch, the adaptation for that novel that came out a little while ago.
I just saw The Woman in Cabin 10.
Okay.
The movie wasn't great, but Keira Knightley's in it and she's so great, and it was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't awful. but I've heard the book is better.
Really, I do love Keira Knightley in anything, so that would be a plus.
Yeah, I know. So good. So I love it. I can't wait to see where you write next.
Thank you.
It's a really good read. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Are you going to come to the US
I am
in the near
hoping,
future?
yeah, I'm hoping to do something in Michigan where the book is set, and connect with some readers out there. My second book, I'll probably come to the States for a bit of promotion, and I'm always kind of going back and forth because my family's in New York.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
There's a place here called Books and Books in Miami. It's been there forever. I
Okay.
don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
All the authors, they have a whole calendar of authors that always come and do book signings, and I go there all the time. So
Okay.
if you ever pop by, I'll definitely come by
I'd
and
love
see you.
I'd love any excuse to go out to Miami.
Oh, I love it. The Books and Books is in Coral Gables, and they always have authors there. It's amazing.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah, it's
great.
really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So thank you so much for coming, and congratulations.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been great to chat.
Yes, thank you.